Now I'd like to say a word about technical notes. Many faculty will assign primary academic sources for their students to read. I have never been a fan of this approach for several reasons. Number one, academic articles have a particular structure. They use a lot of jargon, and they may relate and connect to a lot of other studies around a particular, usually very narrow topic. So as a way of conveying ideas to people who are not going to be academics, who will not be researchers, but rather who will be practicing managers, academic articles are for me a relatively inefficient and off-putting way of conveying ideas to students. So at our institution, we encourage the development of technical notes. And by technical notes, we mean translations of primary research gathered from multiple sources around a single topic. So in a technical note, which wouldn't necessarily be published anywhere except maybe in your own institution's library, the Darden School and Harvard and Ivy and others publish a variety of technical notes in our case clearinghouses, where we explain analytic techniques in accounting, finance, decision analysis, leadership and organizational behavior, and any variety of topics. And they're a way of getting away from having to use a single textbook. You can mix and match the technical notes to fit the flow of your course as you wish, and getting away from the academic jargon that you find in primary sources. Technical notes are more efficient because you can pull 4 or 5 different perspectives on a same topic, summarize those, translate it into layman's language rather than academic language. And in this technical note, then you can provide supplemental reading to a case that may provide a framework or a series of optional frameworks to help students understand what's going on in the case. Now, it's important, I think, to consider the caveat that when you use a technical note, to recognize that, like using a chapter in a book or a primary source, this becomes easily a technical deductive approach. And it begins to border on what I would call quasi-lecturing. That is, if you give them the framework first and then ask them to analyze the case, the implication is, here's a better way to do it. So my encouragement would be to beware of primary sources, not because I'm opposed to research, not in the least, but because I'm opposed to anything that inhibits the facility of a person learning the ideas and the concepts that you want to have. And in my experience, most practicing managers are not interested in reading the academic primary source language. So, the question would be, why would one go to the effort to write a technical note? In many institutions, you may not be rewarded for this. It takes extra time. On the other hand, once you've done it, now you have a repertoire of your particular filter on all of the issues that relate to subject 1, subject 2, subject 3, and so forth. So you can offer that to the students. In my experience, writing a series of technical notes then led to compiling them into a book. And those technical notes were written for a course. They had a certain logical sequencing to them. They summarized a lot of different outside primary research. And now at the end, after several months or years, you could compile them into a book that gives your particular flavor on the world. So it's a way of consolidating multiple sources. It's more efficient, therefore, than having them read the primary sources. You have the opportunity to translate academic jargon into managerial language, and you have the opportunity to provide an industry or a disciplinary background, summarizing, say, the railroad industry or the internet retail industry or business-to-business marketing, whatever the topic may be. You can, rather than having them read 50 different sources, you could pull much of that into 1, 2, or 3 technical notes. And this also provides important contextual information for the students. So I invite you to think about Are there areas where the frameworks or the analytic techniques or the background information necessary to understand a particular context are so diffuse or so academic that there's nothing really that fits your need for helping students enter into and be stimulated by and engaged in that particular topic? Maybe writing a technical note would be your best option. And once you've got it done, then you don't have to go back and reinvent that every time. If you do that early in your career before many years have passed, you've got a nice library of technical notes that you can revise, update, apply, and assign at your leisure.